What's happening? Hey, we are live here in Austin, Texas. Obviously, this is Nick Sparks. If you don't know this, this is Anthony Johnson, the founder and CEO of the 21 Convention. I'm Steve Maeda. I'm the host and probably some other crazy stuff that goes along with it.
Master of Ceremonies.
Master of Ceremonies, that's right.
My favorite.
So today, basically, we're talking about your book by Nick Sparks, the Nick Sparks, amazing guy. I don't even need to intro you because you guys already probably know of him. But tell us about this.
Yeah, it's a book I've been working on for a long time for anyone who's been following the process thus far. Yeah, should be coming out now sooner than later. I'm just putting the finishing touches on it and just very excited to get it out there.
Yeah, you know, one of the reasons too I wanted to get Nick on here to talk about this was he's so huge on the channel. People love his videos that we have from the 21 Convention. But I thought that only people that follow him on Facebook knew about it. And there's so many guys on YouTube. I was like, let's tell them about it. Let's get it out and let's figure out and find out exactly what went into the book and what's gone into the creation of it over years at this point, I think, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. How many years have you actually been writing it?
Too long. Around 2 years now. Okay. It's been going into it, and I've got my reasons looking back now on why it's taken that long. But yeah, I'm gearing up for the final stages, and I'm pretty excited.
Cool. Oh, one more thing for the YouTube guys too. There is like a live chat, and you can ask questions, but try to make them focus on the book itself. I know you guys probably want to ask Nick a whole bunch of different things, but this is for the
actually
book.
Already popping up. You can see them.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Cool. Dude, I'm wondering about this because we've both coached for a same amount of time, and like you're an amazing guy. Like I know everybody, and you're one of my favorite people to hang out with, right? Oh, no. But see, you're the founder of the 21 Convention. You're like the god, and we're just the angels, right?
Sasha one time called me the Mafia Don. Like,
dude,
like, what
the men's mafia hosted by Anthony Johnson. But no, so what inspired you to write this book? Because I can tell this from knowing you, and what makes you such an amazing coach, such an amazing guy, is that this isn't about huge profit, quick fixes. This is about becoming a man that you've been inspired to develop with other men. I mean, that's one of the greatest things about Nick, guys. But so what inspired this, and what is the journey of the book? First off, start with the title too.
You know, it's funny because we're still working on the title.
Oh, really? Okay.
The title's still a work in progress.
All
One
right.
of the last, we got a couple we're whittling it down to. So I don't have to get there. But what inspired this book, I'll answer that question, was the coaching that we've both done for so long.
Yeah.
And you can relate to this as well as anyone can.
Oh, yeah.
You start doing it for so long, you start saying more of some things, you start saying less of others, certain messages, certain things stand out. As you see as being more important. Mm-hmm. And over years and years and hundreds of guys, you start to see these patterns emerge. And we're getting to the point with the coaching where we're just getting very confident in the work that it did. I mean, getting, the kinds of reviews that typically weren't out there.
Right.
And just seeing the stuff that we were doing had a strong effect on people. And
don't you claim 100% success rate too?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not a guy I've worked with who hasn't left very happy with the program.
I don't know anyone else in the world who claims that.
It's the number of reasons we can always talk about that. But the book came about because I had these things that were really making a difference for people, and I saw it making an impact, especially in the programs that we were running. And I just want it to be more widely available, right? Because aside from the people that could show up and do a live training weekend, I had tons of people just writing me, asking me for questions, just answering the same kind of questions over and over. Wanted to be able to help out more people, but seeing that, limiting myself to whatever quick answer I could type up on Facebook or wherever else wasn't going to be the best way to do that. So I thought, well, this is a time to write a book. Now I can put as much as the advice as I can into that as possible, send it out, sell it for cheap, that sort of thing.
Even your speeches at the convention, which were like amazing, even those are like static. They're like once a year max. And then after that, it's not like Nick's best thinking at the moment. Or maybe not the best, but not your like most current. You're always evolving and always changing as a man.
I mean, I wish I could go back and edit some things from my how to hold conversation like a man speech. And there's always little tweaks that you can make. Absolutely. Where that's what's nice about a book is I can make sure the wording's perfectly on it. I can go over, and whereas I'm giving a speech, it's great to be able to get some information out there. it's just kind of a one-time, I'm nervous as can be.
Yep.
And then so to be able to just really put out something that's static, that really speaks for the work that I do, I'm excited just to have that.
Let me actually get into this. And we probably have some questions for you guys that are watching this coming in. But before we jump to that, I would really like to know, because you talked about this, the changes that men get while doing, you know, a workshop. And it's not just about a workshop, it's about getting coaching with you. What did you see them go through that was beyond just like, oh, I got a number, or I got, you know, a girlfriend or sex or whatever? Because I think that's what makes you such a dynamic guy.
One of your students got married, didn't he? And,
yeah, it happens. Yeah. All over. Got some coming up this year. And
wow. Okay, there you
go.
Got
a full schedule.
Yeah, it's always fun. No, it's a rewarding part of the job.
What are those changes?
But that's not even the biggest thing.
Right.
Not even like, oh, I got married, or oh, I got a girlfriend, or oh, I got whatever. I mean, this has always been tough to exactly put a finger on and market. You know, that's why I usually just let the testimonials guys write their own, speak for themselves. But the difference that I saw early on is people just saying, you know, it's hard to put like my finger on exactly what's different. I just feel more confident in general. I've got kind of a new outlook on life. Like my friends will ask me what's different, but they can't quite put their finger on it. It's really difficult to put like this tangible thing. It's just being happy with this part of your life, not feeling like there's still something missing, not feel like you're still lacking in some way, shape, or form, but to just kind of have it figured out. And I was somehow able to infuse my programs for the most part with that.
You'd say then it's like an internal change that you're seeing, right? Not just the external things like getting a girlfriend or getting married. It's like, it's deeper than that.
It's your whole outlook.
Yeah.
You kind of have a chance to drag you in for a, 72-hour period and
I really liked in your newest speech, there's a quote from you. You say, if you want to get good at this part of your life, and I'm paraphrasing it, but it has to become part of who you are. If you want to become a sexual human being, it has to be part of your daily life. And I think that's kind of what you're speaking to now is what I hear.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's how you're looking at, the messages you're telling yourself, how you're looking at other people on a day-to-day basis, and reinforcing that.
But like to a guy, like a lot of the fans out there watching this, how does that break down? Like being a sexual man to a guy that hasn't gone on a date or had that conversation with a woman or isn't that social. It's like, well, fuck, I want to get to the guy that's getting success. So it's like, how do you break down the importance of that? Because I think you teach it so well, man, how can you get that ultimate confidence, that way of life that carries into every action, emotion, and whatever that you do, expression that you put yourself out there?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I guess it's also related to book talk. I knew the conversation always goes here, but it's a little off. But
no. But okay, so in the book,
my book is based on this a lot. I think a big difference is that, it's not something to do when you're talking to a girl. It's something to look at when you're just interacting with anyone. Yeah, I would say in every interaction you have, whether it's the two of us or whether it be your doctor, or the person at the grocery store. I mean, you're either going to revert back to your old, just kind of autopilot, your old ruts, as I call them, or you're going to have a chance to interact with people. And be with a little more consciousness, and a little more awareness. And so are you improving, or are you getting worse in every single interaction you have?
You and I have talked about the book. I haven't read it. Nobody's read it.
Has anyone read it? Or just
a few people have. Yeah. Some of my alums have gotten earlier editions of it. And,
it's good bonus.
Same stuff that I'm teaching in the classroom. So.
But the thing is that the purpose of the book isn't. That's what I'm getting at. It's to achieve like a good life as a man, and that is so freaking important that I think that carries over directly into your philosophy about sex, women, how people communicate and connect. Because if you make it about just a result, to that guy that's going, I don't know how to talk to women, here's how you approach, or here's how you get a number and all that sort of stuff, and here's how you get the result, and that's going to make you a man. Your book is actually designed to be like, no, how you become a man is you live it in every day of your life. And that's what I think is, from all of I've heard about it, because I haven't read it, is that you're fucking putting that together. That's awesome. It's badass. So
I actually have a way too. I think we can take this back super focused on the book. A few months ago, probably like 8-9 months ago, you and I spoke by phone before the Tampa convention. And you talked about the creative process that went into your speeches a little bit, and how diligent and how much effort you put into them. into making them as good as they are. So I actually want to talk to you about the parallels between the creative process for creating the speeches versus the much longer process of creating the book. Can you pull any like similarities or differences from that?
Really good question. It's like these differences are much easier to point out than similarities. I guess similarities, I have a general frame in my head for like what I want to say, like what I want the point to be, what do I want to accomplish
of a speech,
in a speech or of the book.
Okay.
Right. And then I'll lay it out a little bit more thoroughly and say, okay, so what are some of the bigger points I want to hit along this journey? Right. I also need an introduction to like, how's that going to look? And this is book or speech.
Okay.
Right. Most of this process is still going on in my head. Sometimes I'll put out bullet points, but I'm much more of a kind of in my head, lay out the foundation versus really starting to get a minuscule detail. Some people are different thinkers. So I'm doing this for both processes. And as it starts getting close to time for a speech, I'll start to, detail out maybe some of those bullet points a little bit more. What are the things I'd like to hit? What are the things I don't? And then, when the speech time comes, well, then you just remember what you're going to remember, forget what you're going to forget, and just kind of swing by where you're at out there. With a book, this is where things take a very different turn. Okay. Because now with a book, you've got this format, as we talked about, where like every single sentence has weight to it, where every single point you're making is, you can really, well, maybe overanalyze it, but the fact that this is a solid, inflexible thing, I've spent just a lot more time going over it, rethinking of exactly what I want to say. And then you'll find out, you give a speech, and then a couple days later, after putting this information out there, your brain was so focused on holding that information. Now that's released from that now you can start thinking. So a month after I delivered my 2014 speech, there was already ways that I was thinking like, oh, this could have been better. That could have been better.
Yeah, I've done this myself, man.
And with a book now, you actually get to revise it before it goes out to the audience. Like with the video, it's out there. Right? I can do my best to, talk about what I'm saying in the comments. But yeah,
what you say is what you say.
Right. So. Whereas in the book, I can go back and take that time to just make sure that all those evolutions are going to be currently.
Here's a follow-up question. So would you say the book is not like a huge speech, like a 10-hour speech? It's much different. It sounds like you're saying it's more precise.
Yes, it's much more precise. Like saying exactly what I want to say. It would have, gosh, how would I even compare it to a 10-hour speech? Maybe a 10-hour speech done by a robot, but with some emotion behind it.
I'm sure it sounds like it's written by a human, though.
Yeah. It has to. I'm still a human being.
Exactly. So far as we know, I don't know. These speeches are getting really good now.
We've examined them, actually.
Not a perfect
speaker. So like what are some of the main points of the book? Like if you were to divide up the chapters or themes of it, that guys can kind of like build an expectation for.
Sure. Well, the general parts of the book, general sections, I've got really three. Is one, starting conversations with strangers. And this is just broken down by what you see guys asking the most questions about, broken down into categories. One, starting conversations with strangers. Two, just holding conversations, having good conversations, having great conversations. And then third part is just bringing sexuality into all of that. And the final section on just some general tips and lessons. But
it actually follows your speeches almost chronologically very well. 11, 12, and then 14.
Yeah, I first started creating the speeches just because, once again, these were the questions I was getting them asked the most. These were what I saw as being the most pivotal things to be talked about.
This just occurred to me. It's such a simple question. Are you using the speeches as a way to kind of draft the book over time?
Yeah, a little bit. Practice? It's totally happened. I mean, those who are familiar with the speeches, you're going to see some similar stories in the book, some similar lessons. But once again, it's going to be, stuff that I've had a chance to go over again and again and again and make sure it's really presented as effectively as I can possibly present it. But you'll definitely see the comparisons between the speeches.
I had no idea the whole time. Oh, yeah, these are great speeches. Yeah, keep going, Nick.
And also, what's interesting about that is because you've even said in this, we've talked about it on the side, but in this little podcast, you have said that you're like, man, if I could have changed stuff, even from the 2014 speech that you gave 6 or 8 months ago or whatever, so that means these are actually updated ideas to how to hold a conversation. Updated ideas on how to be sexual and all those different things. That's pretty cool, man.
Best of the best.
Yeah. So, man, questions, or do you want to break for that, or do you have any other questions?
I have a bunch more questions.
Anthony Johnson has some more questions.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, the book is mostly for men, but like a little bit deeper, if you can go into it, who's the book for? Is it for older men, young men, Asian men, white men, black guys? I mean, is it anyone?
I actually have a disclaimer right in one of the first pages of the book, and I'll probably put this in the Amazon section about whatever. This book really, the language that I used is kind of directed towards men, especially with their issues talking to women, because that's what so much of my coaching has been focused on for so long, what I have the most experience with. The lessons of the book are for anyone who is interested in improving their social or sexual communication with anyone else. I've really kind of looked for what are the universal aspects of people getting along together and people being present with each other, not present with each other.
And so that's whether you're 18
or not,
or 48 or
it's all the same.
Okay.
It's all the same. You might be in slightly different social structures. In college, it's easier to meet people than it is if you're just, had a job for 20 years and you just moved to a new city.
Yeah.
But the book is really centered around things that are going to make the biggest difference no matter where you are.
Cool. Actually, I think that's a great point, because not a lot of people talk about that in terms of, especially with men's development. We think our problems are so unique, right? And then we can't, you're this and that, and I'm this and that, and it's impossible to change. Whereas the principles of change and the way you teach, customized, working with somebody is really the key thing. And so many times, like why I don't get women, or why I'm unhappy, why I'm out of shape, all the stuff that you basically brought to the world with the convention,
integrated it,
it tend to be these same principles. If we have a conversation with an expert like Nick, or an expert like, Keith Norris, Mark Otobre, whatever, we tend to say the same things about what gets you there. I think it's a very cool thing when it comes to dating and having a healthy social sexual life.
That's how I see both of you guys at the convention. You guys were super, super into the sexual life and dating and relationships and all things entailed with internal change, external improvements in like your skills and your talent with that. But for me, it's just bringing you guys into a bigger stage, of course, the 21 convention, and then integrating it to like a giant widget where it's all like functioning together.
Yeah.
So I think you knew that already, but
no, it's awesome to be a part of it. It's cool because there's so many speakers I've learned stuff from that I've really appreciated from the 21 convention.
Well, what you just said too a minute ago is like you mentioned universals, I think was the word you used, and to me that just means fundamentals. I think is how I interpret it. But then, like Steve said, to me it's all fundamental connections between what you're talking about, what Keith is talking about, what Mark Sisson's talking about. To me, it's all kind of on the same wavelength or current. And that's why you guys are so awesome together. It's like putting little Legos together and then make this giant, awesome, ideal man or something.
What's crazy is everybody builds off of one another. So like you started in 2009 or 2008.
Yeah, right around
so
there.
It's like, you're there, I'm there. Mark Sisson actually spoke in 2009, and he's going to, it was 2010. Well, anyway, whatever. Yep. These guys evolve, and we've all kind of followed an interesting path, and then we can touch base. It's actually so fortunate that you live in Austin, because it's like, oh man, you're taking your ideas to this level, and it's just, it's food for all of us. It's very cool.
Because I think when we first met, our teachings were like, all over the place. But now that we've gotten a chance to reconnect, to look at what we're doing now, and the stuff that makes us different is really what makes us stand out, and be able to help different people, and that's awesome. But then you look and the stuff that we're similar on. I mean, the stuff that
let me actually ask you this, because how has your coaching evolved? You've always been a good coach. I mean, I think that's it. Is like, I may have been all over the place at one point, but I could still coach. Yeah. Whereas your teachings may have been like a little bit more abstract or whatever at one point, but you were always a good coach. So how has that evolved? And I think that's one of the big foundations of the book.
Yeah. I was fortunate that I was a good coach, because I always say the actual stuff I was teaching back when I started was terrible. But I still got quality. It was great in comparison to everything else out there. Well, I guess, maybe in comparison to everything else that was out there, it still wasn't great. But people still, I got positive reviews, but because people could tell I cared and was coming from a good place, and it was kind of, I had a lot of energy and a lot of focus, and I was kind of going in this direction. And then, just these core principles to guide me. I'm like, what's the right direction? Always looking for what's universal, What's the smallest things that make the biggest difference? And, you know, just as the years have gone by, luckily it was that passion that I had for it, that excitement that kind of propelled me forward and gave me the.
You said on the way here to where we're filming now that, you know, passion was what drove you through most of your 20s. Just like this raw, very powerful, intense passion for coaching and for helping people this part of their life. So.
Yeah.
Like it changes because we get older, like we slow down, but then, so the passion, man, I'll speak for myself, but it had to do with like validation at times, like winning, kicking ass. The thing that moved like success in coaching was the passion became more for the client. And that's all I hear from you.
You have to be.
Yeah.
You've seen how many coaches who've got into this industry. Oh, this is so cool. This is exciting. I love like the image. I love like, it must be the fringe benefits of being this cool. Like that fades really fast. Like, and then you see a lot of people drop out and not having the only thing that's going to keep you coaching. And you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have guys who are more challenging. There's going to be guys who are less challenging and make it seem easy for you. And it's like, how do you respond to those? Like, do you love that challenge? Do you always want more, despite the fact that it's going to be more taxing and more emotional, physical energy? Or do you like say, oh man, I can't take this anymore. I can't deal with it.
Was there a point with a client, a student, a story that made you go, man, this is why I need to put this on paper? You know, this is that turning point of the decision, you know, basically I gotta make this book because you've committed to it. You know, you've put down hours and hours of time and thought and looked within yourself and others for it. What made you really want to do this?
It was just kind of the reaction that I saw to guys, especially when the testimonials for my coaching was getting better and better. Just, you know, I'd read those or just, you know, see guys and their experiences from it. And then other guys would see those. Other guys would read those. And, well, hey, Nick, help me out with this. I started seeing just more of a demand. People just asking more for my thoughts on this and that.
So it sounds
and I was kind of like, I just felt like I had a responsibility. Like I've been given this life that's given me these experiences that are different than most people. You know, my brain works like this for these things. And I've got all these people now like asking me for this, like saying they want my help with this. Like
it sounds almost like a sequence was a turning point of different little testimonial events that accumulated. Does that sound about right? That's what you're telling me. That's kind of how
it just became a point where it was a no-brainer. Like people would ask, Nick, why haven't you written a book yet? I'm like, I really need to do this.
Yep. Other speakers had this too. I think Sasha recently put a book out, and it was the same thing. Years people were like, hey, where's the book? He's like, what book?
It's good motivation.
Totally.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. What else you got there, Mr. Johnson?
Here's a pretty basic question, but I think it'll go a long way towards helping people understand it. How more specifically can the book help them? The guys watching right now or in the future on YouTube and stuff, how can the book not just broadly and fundamentally help their life, but specifically, like what's going to change?
Sure. So to get a little more specific in what the book's about.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are these more general areas that we can talk on, talk about, focus our coaching on. Then every single guy's different, right? Every single guy has different mannerisms, different personality, different, and that's why, really getting in there and identifying specifically how is a guy maybe sabotaging himself in a different situation. Right. It's sometimes you gotta be able to see that. And, we do it for as long as we can. We can just look at a guy and very easily see like what's going on. With the book, what I tried to do is for each of those areas, whether it comes to people trying to start new conversations or just holding a conversation and having it be a great one or becoming more sexual, I basically pulled out what are 5, 6 of the most common ways that a guy will sabotage himself in regards to those different areas. And then how can he, what are the actions he can take once he's identified that he's doing this to reverse that behavior. And once again, practicing it with everyone he comes into contact with. And then within those 5 or 6 per section subsets, I'll have other little details in there to maybe allow a guy to catch himself if this is something that he is doing so whatever area it is that you're really suffering, and you're going to be able to look at, well, what are some ways that I might be sabotaging myself? Really try to give examples, give as many details, analogies as I can. And then the specific actions he can take to quote unquote cure that and immediately start having better interactions with people.
This sounds, from my experience as a young person with like the pickup scene and stuff, this sounds really useful, because for myself and a lot of people I knew in the layers and stuff, they had one of their biggest problems was sabotaging themselves because they're motivated. The fact that they're learning about it means they're motivated to learn about it and to do things with it. And because of that, they're always doing way too much and they're always screwing themselves up. That was me too.
And it's almost like, well, it's different at first because it's almost a tough sell, because so much of the industry, so much of the marketing is, we want to give you these tips and we want to give you this action-based step-by-step. And it doesn't help anyone in the long run. And so I had to make a book. And the main point of my book is just about getting out of your own way.
I love it.
It's just about getting out of your head. Because, you know, when you're in your head thinking, big premise of mine throughout my 21 convention speeches, when you're in your head overthinking, that's when you sabotage yourself. So how do I create a book whose essential message is to stop trying? There's this dichotomy in this industry where people are like, well, yeah, you want to not be dependent on the outcome. You know, you don't want to have an agenda, but then do all these things to try to get the specific outcome and have this agenda. So how do I write a book that stays true to that? Hey, get out of your head. Hey, just be present with somebody. You know, you're most attractive when you're not trying to be attractive. Then how can I build content around that? How can I help to describe that as thoroughly as possible?
Yeah, actually, one of the things that I want to say to that I think everybody should look at towards what Nick is describing is he's talking about actual behavioral change with who you are. The reasons why one doesn't achieve success in any area is not because you haven't just gotten the result. I mean, the result is one moment. But for you to be that man that can achieve excellence, and dude, this is the thing, and this is what I've seen in your coaching. You help a guy with dating on a true principle base. It's not just some advertisement word. A true principle base. He'll get better in other areas of his life because he lives that man. And your book breaks that. That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about how this stuff affects your professional life quite a bit in the book as well. Yeah. I mean, if you're just the kind of person, your income is mostly dependent on how the people that are around you, how much they like you.
Yep.
I mean, that's just kind of study after study shows this. And so, yes, it's good to be good at your craft, and you shouldn't stop developing your talents, of course. But if you're working around any other people whatsoever, like the better you get along with them, that's huge for the quality of your life.
If you're totally uncalibrated, you just shoot yourself in the foot and you screw things up.
Absolutely.
So even with, I mean, you mentioned change in other areas of life. It reminds me of health too. A lot of people who are, say, like really obese or have like, you know, weight problems and stuff, changing this part of their life and having success in it can definitely drive the motivation and determination to achieve success in like different parts, even with your health.
I've seen tons of guys I've worked with go on to just lose a ton of weight.
Not surprised.
Get more motivated in their careers. Like I mean, everybody's on their own path, but yeah, all this stuff definitely fits together.
Cool. That's all the questions I have. So,
man, there's plenty of questions in the feed.
Yeah, what do we got in the feed?
Let's actually hack into that. And I really appreciate you guys watching this. So let's get to some of your guys' questions, answer that sort of stuff.
Actually, let's bring up the laptop and I can actually read it off right from there. And
it's exciting. I love live questions.
You need it? We'll bring it up. Just 1 second here, guys. Bring the laptop up. Cool. Did you highlight some? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. You want to bring this up here a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I can read them off. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I just pressed something here, so sorry. Hopefully it's all good.
It's totally good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so do you want to do it? You're a better reader than I am.
Yeah, might as well.
You're a better reader.
That's the truth. If you guys don't know this, I'll be like, that is funny because
I'm a better reader, apparently. Let's do this. Take some questions. Do you include any non-sexual related life advice in your book?
Oh yeah.
Well, you mentioned the conversation.
Only 1/3 of the content is sexual. I mean, the rest of it is just interacting platonically with any other person. You need those elements too if you're going to interact in a more sexual way. You can't just be kind of socially lackadaisical in other areas and just being sexual. That won't work either.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. How do you define improvement in social and sexual communication? Improvement in people's comfort in their social or sexual lives, improvement in their results, in their happiness, he's asking about a definition of social and sexual communication.
Yeah. It's going to be improvement in the interactions they see with other people and how they feel about those interactions.
Okay.
How comfortable they feel, how confident they feel with the way that they're going, how much they're enjoying it, how much they're just having fun interacting with other people.
Yep.
And then seeing those positive benefits and creating kind of a positive circle for them.
Okay.
I have one thing that I wanted to add to that. Do you see is a difference in social and sexual communication? So is there a difference between social and sexual communication, like in how to coach from there?
Well, yeah, opening up the sexual communication, we focus on that. We take a day of our program just to focus on doing, classroom sessions and everything else. And so a section of the book, definitely, because your sexual communication is just another part of your overall social communication. It's just a smaller section of this bigger piece. If somebody is repressing that part of themselves and just, flirting with whomever just for the fun of it, not because you're trying to get something, but just enjoying someone else's company and all the natural feelings that come up when you do so, and communicate with those feelings. That's just saying, I'm happy with all of myself. I'm not ashamed with any part of myself. That's why so people that are slightly more flirtatious at the office aren't getting ahead. It's because they're just showing complete confidence with who they are. It's not because they're like, oh, they're seducing people and everything.
Yeah.
So being confident with your sexuality is just about being confident with all.
I think it's a really great point. It's not like some sleazy thing that's getting in my head. It's that it's displaying value. It's like positive values that people want to be around.
Yeah.
That further you in other areas. Yeah.
So I think helping the guys to unlock that part and communicate just more generally with that part just fosters an overall confidence and everything.
Cool. This is a good one
here. Okay. Is your book about eliminating social weirdness, awkwardness? I don't know how to put it. Maybe it doesn't speak English well.
Social anxiety.
Social anxiety. Yeah. I'm not going to say weirdness or awkwardness, even though my behavior could be described as that plenty of times.
That's what made us good.
We're human beings. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I was there too, man.
So yeah, it's all about kind of looking at behaviors that are hindering you from connecting more fully with people in a moment, and figuring out how to overcome those behaviors.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of them.
We're just let me look through and find which one is the best. I mean, it's kind of a logistical one.
That's worth addressing.
Yeah, go for it.
Someone said, I am in South Africa. How can I get more stuff by Nick? I guess.
Don't you have an online program?
I do have an online program on my website. The book will be coming out soon on Amazon if you have a Kindle or Kindle app. And then my website has some. I do coaching calls via Skype. So anywhere in the world, I've done calls.
Okay.
We'll fit something in with both of our time zones that work out usually.
There's no link to your website in the video, but it's sparksofattraction.com.
Yeah, pretty easy to sparksofattraction.com.
There is a link to your Facebook page though in there, and they can add you on Facebook, right?
Absolutely, and get all my information through there. Most updates for the book are usually speeches like this that I'm doing. I'll post to Facebook.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate when you post the speeches and stuff.
Of course.
So, yeah, it helps a lot. Cool.
Yeah, there's a couple questions here, and let's. How much time do we have for?
We can go another 5-7 minutes. I want to try to get it about 40.
So definitely keep your questions about the books, guys. That would be really awesome. But
tomorrow we'll be doing one of these where we answer questions about anything.
But for
just
21
100% question answering time, right?
So actually, tomorrow there's going to be a 100% question answering thing. What you have to do for that is you have to be a part of 21 University, which is like the best freaking deal in town. So
it is the definitive streaming service for men in the world.
How do they get on that? It's $1.
It's $1.
$1.
Let me take a look through it, make it easy for them. To get on 21 University, so it's like really easy for you guys. You just go to the YouTube description for this video, like the video description, and there's a link. It says attend the exclusive 21 University live stream featuring Nick Sparks for $1. There's a link and you click it and that's it. You'll get a 30-day trial, which will include the live stream tomorrow, and it's $1. And I highly recommend it because Nick will be taking just nonstop Q&A for like an hour.
I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things.
It's pretty fun.
And wouldn't they also get an immediate access to my 2014?
Yep. This is actually pretty important bonus. Thank you for reminding me because I forgot. Sure. Yeah. 21 University is basically like Netflix for men, and it includes pre-release access. So you can watch Nick's brand new speech before it's on YouTube or anywhere else on 21 University. And that's included when you pay the $1 for a trial. And it includes premium access to all of your old speeches. No ads on them, nothing. YouTube's like has stuff all over the place. 21 University is like really clean and like perfect. And it has all of his old talks, so you can go watch them again and again, which I recommend. People ask me sometimes how I've improved my life. And a lot of it's just through the speeches that these guys give. Specifically, I watch them again and again and again. And I don't have to watch ads or like all this like crazy stuff. No, it helped, dude. It's all of you guys. There's almost 100 speakers. And having really good, clean access to your speeches like I do on my hard drives, just because I'm the guy that runs the company, it's really powerful. And 21 University is a big part of how we've been able to do that for everyone else. They can just watch your speeches whenever they want, and there's nothing getting in the way of that, nothing to distract them.
Cool.
So, super focused.
Cool. Can we sneak in one more question?
Yeah.
Before we leave?
Totally.
So what would you say is your main contribution to, it's written kind of odd, but I believe self-development. What's your main contribution to the, I guess, development of man, being a better man?
Geez.
The ideal man.
I don't know.
There you go.
Dropping the bucket in the grand scheme of things, man. There's so many other things. I've been fortunate enough to, work with just a lot of individuals and improve their life. And, so what's the overall impact I've made on this or that? I don't know. But in terms of just the people I've gotten a chance to work with, that I know I've talked to, who I talk with, I know that I've been able to make a positive impact in their life at least. And then they've gone and that's influenced the people that they've known. So
you've also influenced millions of people on YouTube, man. Your talk's about 1.5 million views at this point altogether, which is pretty powerful. So some of the best in the world, man. At least YouTube agrees with that statement. People just go crazy over them.
Well, if anything, I hope that I've helping people to not overthink things as much and just kind of get in touch with what they want, who they are.
I'd actually say that you brought a very good face and mentality to talking to women, because what were the options? I mean, there were always guys out there giving them, but what were the options that men had to look for? It was like this, when you talk to a guy that isn't familiar with the dating scene, what does he do? He finds like all this spammy crap online through Google. But the 21 convention, what your speeches did, man.
Instant product formula.
Yeah. Well, that's
overnight
funny.
Dating books.
I was talking about how when I didn't know much that I was teaching, but I still had these pillars of what am I, just keeping me going, making sure I'm moving in the right direction as my coaching evolved. One of those has always been like, how would women feel if they were hearing me teach this?
Totally.
Like, how would my mother feel if she was hearing me teach this?
Yeah.
So I always try to keep my, message as,
I think it's
and I haven't
Keystone.
been perfect. I've been learning with that as long as I've gone along, but it's always like, universal, trying to keep it what's going to appeal to anybody and not just turn people off from hearing it, because I think that there was a lot of that.
I think you've tried to keep it, from what you tell me, you're trying to keep it on what's important. And I think you've done a good job of that. And
that's also just reminding people that, this isn't something that needs, secret language to talk about. It doesn't need to be hidden and kept in the shadows. I mean, this is a natural, beautiful thing that people have been discussing for, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years.
Totally.
And so it shouldn't be something that we have to keep as weird as possible. It should be something that's
in a layer.
Yes. Trying to discuss. So that's always been a guiding principle as well for me.
Cool. So there's actually another one here, and it says, I tend to get attached very quickly to a girl, even within the first interaction. How do I, away from loss, aversion, and realize there's plenty of more fish? Basically, how do I not get in my head about that?
Yeah, no, that can be a tough one. Especially since you said it's not like just one time that it happens and you meet somebody that you really just, either you do have a once in a lifetime type of connection with, or twice, 3, 4 times in a lifetime. This is happening more often for you. This is happening more randomly. It's meeting somebody and it's kind of deify them slightly, and slightly you're just so anxious because you kind of got them on so much of a pedestal, you freak out and you're not able to interact with them.
Probably a pedestal they don't even know they're on. Like, it's in your head that they're up there, but to them, they're just like having
and they can feel that too. As soon as a guy starts, imagining them as so great and starts treating, well, how can I get the reaction that I want from them? How can I get them to like me? How can I say the right thing? Women can just sense that almost immediately, and it's it's a major turn.
It's repelling,
It's incredibly repelling.
It's like,
so
walk away from me.
It's natural that you're doing it. It's certainly not an uncommon thing, but a couple things to keep in mind. One, they're just human beings They just want somebody that they can interact with normally. 2, I would say practice interacting with people normally. Practice how many times are you going out to different groups or clubs that you might want to check out, and meeting people who are also looking to socialize and meet new people, and holding conversations with them and getting to know them, and then developing muscles of just enjoying a conversation without trying to, oh God, how do I get that positive reaction from them? Reinforcing positive, healthy conversation habits with other people. So that when you do encounter someone that makes your heart beat a little bit faster, you're not going to automatically fall into this one kind of rut that you've got in your brain going, but you've kind of developed an alternate form of communicating with someone.
Because you're on solid ground, it sounds like. It sounds to me like you're having people build like a foundation that they can actually have a conversation on. So that way when they get into that moment, they're not like stumbling all over the place.
Yeah, the only trick with anything I teach is simply to not treat the pretty girl any differently. Just get over that buzzing that you're having. Just it's like, you look at a basketball player who's entering the playoffs, and it's more cameras, more lights, it's more nervous for everybody. If he hasn't been practicing just dribbling and passing and shooting like all his life and getting that muscle memory in, when the pressure's on, he'd never be able to hit that shot. So it's about developing these social muscles so that when you're in that situation with someone, yes, you see you do this thing sometimes. It's perfectly natural. It's perfectly normal, but they're just a human being. They're just like every other person that you've been talking with, to be able to stay present and enjoy that conversation versus trying to figure out what you have to do to get your positive effect that you want. It's a process. You got to work on it for a little while.
Now that actually brings up something pretty awesome. One more? Or?
It's up to Nick, man. Nick's
I love doing this. Okay. The more the merrier.
One novelty question we have.
Let's do it more.
Is, well, this one will be quick.
Okay.
How does Nick Sparks have such a great beard? Look at that perfect touch. And how do women respond to it?
You get a lot of comments on YouTube about
Oh yeah.
beard,
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the beard. Okay.
And then this one.
It just kind of grows. This is like a week and a half, 2 weeks of me just not feeling like shaving.
Wow.
Although if I do slightly feel like shaving, but I know you're coming to town to film something, I'll let it grow out just a little bit.
This is like a
little bit. Yeah.
Well, and when you do shave, that was one of the, we have an amazing whatever. Maria got you a gift on it.
Yes. So. When I do happen to shave, I've got a very nice birthday present.
This one is one that is actually very Nick Sparks question. Do I have to be the center of attention to get the girls that I want? I'm introverted and I don't prefer to have the spotlight on me. How do I deal with that? This is totally up your alley.
It's like a plant because
no, that was nice.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I actually cover this in detail in the book and say that introverts often think they need to be more like extroverts in order to be more popular, but it's the opposite of the truth. I mean, one of the things that extroverts like myself have struggled with our entire lives is that desire to be the center of attention, the desire we develop these witty, charming personalities. And
I'm a stunning example of that. Well, I got the unlimited facial expressions. So
more of coming from the introverted place, but you guys are actually better at holding conversations, being present without trying to be the entertainer, without trying to put all the emphasis on us. I would say other people don't really like people that try to make themselves the center of attention. They like people that make us the center of attention. We like to feel like good when we're talking to someone.
It's like in your big speech, you talked about it's better to be interested than interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at how to win friends and influence people, that's basically the point of the entire book, is put the emphasis on the other person instead of on yourself.
Yeah.
So introverts can be much better at doing that. Extroverts, it's a lot more difficult to get over their desire to be the center.
One thing that's really important about that too, and that we've talked about separately, is that to get emotion or rapport, empathy out of somebody, you don't need to be an extroverted person. It gets in the way of it. To have seduction in that moment, it requires intimacy. And to be an extrovert, it actually gets in the way of it. So that's why it's like such a Nick Sparks question. One quick one, and then we got to wrap it up. But how big of a book are we looking at here?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Do you have an estimate on the total length?
I don't know how this is going to transition out in Kindle formatting and paperback formatting, but right now we're looking at about over 30,000 words.
Okay.
However that
the
book that turns out to be.
Pretty meaty.
The one thing that I'd like to say, guys, is that basically the deal here is that Nick is going to be here tomorrow at the same time.
Yes.
And in order to get onto that, if you go to the link, you know, just within of what you're watching right now, if you go to that link and you sign up, it's $1. You can type in whatever questions. Him and Anthony are basically going to be here, and Nick's going to be answering those questions. It's like a one-on-one, but virtual. And it's just one of those great things that the 21 University is bringing to the table of coaching, teaching, and building a more, like intimate way of learning. You know, we've had the speeches online for years, and now we have access directly to the coaches.
Well, it's like Nick mentioned earlier, the speeches are very like one directional. Whereas tomorrow, and like this right now a little bit, but especially tomorrow, it's like the two-way conversation. So it's a lot more fun. It's pretty cool stuff.
My favorite parts of the speeches are when I'm doing the Q&A.
Yeah, at the end,
like the preparing and this litany. You know, it's important, but I enjoy just answering questions spur of the moment.
Cool.
It's my most.
Well, we're gonna wrap up, but please come tomorrow on the 21 University live stream. Sign up for $1 and add Nick on Facebook. You can follow him there for book updates coming this year. At some point, the book will come out
sooner than later.
Okay. Well, we'll leave the launch date at that because a lot of people bug you about that, right?
Yes, it's the most commonly asked question I get on a daily basis.
Totally get it. Yep. Okay.
See you later, guys.
See you guys. Appreciate your time. Gonna sign.